Mike over at Cross Country Mortgage. Good morning. It's time for your Monday morning mortgage update for the week of July the 14th. LPL had a wonderful, cool, clear weekend. We know that wasn't the case. A lot of smoke out there, a lot of heat. So hopefully you were safe and healthy and maybe stayed indoors or got in the lake and just kept cool. What happened last week? What's going to happen this week? In the mortgage industry, I was trying to give you some insight so that when you're going out and buying, selling houses, you can advise your clients or you can make the right decisions when it comes to the right mortgage to get, interest rates, etc. So last week, we actually saw a slight worsening of mortgage rates, very, very small sell-off on the bond market. We've seen a sell-off for the last 2 weeks with a ton of volatility in between. It's just what we've been seeing every single week, but it really didn't impact mortgage rates. So anytime there's a sell-off in the bond market, which money flows out of the bond market, mortgage rates go up. And that didn't happen. The rates that I'm quoting today are the same they were a week, 2 weeks ago. We just haven't seen it translate to the consumer yet. Why did this happen? Well, there wasn't a lot of economic news that impacted the market. Most of it was just due to uncertainty, and probably tariffs was the biggest mover. We saw the Trump administration send out a bunch of letters to countries, I think 20 letters that said, hey, here's what you're going to pay. It's above the 10% that they said was the minimum a couple months ago. And then I think EU and Mexico were at 30% tariffs. So that caused a little bit of uncertainty. Anytime there's tariffs, the fear is that that's going to be higher prices, and higher prices is inflation, and inflation is bad for mortgage rates. So all of that news that came out, bond traders kind of had a sell-off on the bond market. Again, it was very small because they think that potentially that could impact the bond market. But we haven't seen it hit the streets yet as far as that change to mortgage rates. What are we looking at this week? We're looking at geopolitical, inflation, and retail sales. So geopolitical, tariffs again. We're really looking at what the impact of last week is going to have this week. Are we going to see some trickle down cost increases? We haven't seen it yet, even though tariffs have been in the news every single week and tariffs have been imposed on countries. It appears that that's not being trickled down to the consumer yet in a big way, and so it's not hitting the pocketbooks of you and I. Will that change this week? We'll see. The other thing is Russia and Ukraine, some escalation in that conflict over the weekend. Anytime that there's world unrest, if you will, with Israel and Iran, with Russia and Ukraine, et cetera, there's something called a flight to safety. I've talked about it before. Money will flow into the bond market because investors don't want the returns to be impacted if there is a world escalation of something that can impact global economies. And the Israeli and the Iran situation is in the Middle East, which is where most of the oil comes from. So if oil prices go up because that unrest impacts it, then that's going to be translated to us in higher costs. That's inflationary. That's bad for mortgage rates. So be paying attention to that. The next thing is inflation. CPI, Consumer Price Index, PPI, Producers Price Index come out this week. And if we see those two inflationary reports under expectations, there's going to be a rally in the bond market. If we see them above, then we're going to see a worsening of mortgage rates. So we'll be watching that very, very closely. And then retail sales. Last week, consumer debt was down. That means that consumers are charging less on their credit cards. Will that translate into fewer purchases on the retail side? So if the lower charges, the lower debt that we saw last week translates into less purchasing of stuff, that's a slowing economy, and that's positive for mortgage rates. So there's really a lot of push and pull about where rates are going to be. Word on the street is we're probably going to see rates get worse to stay flat unless there's some unexpected changes in the reports with inflation, with retail sales, and we'll see where that lands us. Obviously moving to a floating or a locking position as if we see any news that's unexpected. So if you have any questions about mortgage rates, go ahead and give me a call. If you know anybody can benefit from this video, please forward it to them. Have a great, productive day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.